sorrow. It's 2,500 years back that in Acharang Sutra, Mahavir is saying that plants feel the same kind of sorrow, the same kind of pain, the same kind of pleasure, the same kind of, they die, they are born. It's just like me. So realizing this oneness in this sense, that we have the same soul in all these animals, small animals, big animals, human beings, and even plants, was a big discovery or big insight of Jainism, which led it to another important principle of Jainism. Yesterday somebody was saying that our metaphysical principles take us to our moral principle, to ethics. Metaphysics becomes the foundation for ethics. So now this metaphysical principle of Jains, this nature of consciousness, and how this consciousness is there in almost everything, and equal consciousness, and potentially everybody is capable of attaining nirvana, brings another ethical principle of Jainism, that is ahimsa, that is non-violence. That's the foundation for it. Because if animals have the same soul which we have, then we have to respect them. We can't treat them as our instruments, means, simply means. We have to respect their identity. And interestingly, I can be animal in my next life, or I was an animal in my previous life. So this idea that I can be animal and I could be animal and I may be animal in my next life, makes me sympathetic towards the rest of the non-human world. We have to be, because I don't know what I will be because of my karmas in this life. So this, according to Jainism, why this conscious, there is a difference. You can see the difference between a plant, an ant, and me, and you. What is the difference? The difference, according to Jainism, is that the cloud of karmas, bad karmas or karmas, it puts the consciousness into bondage. It covers its illuminating quality, illuminating power. The more you uncover the clouds of karmas, the more the natural illuminating power is there. So you don't do anything with the Atma, the soul. It's the cloud of ignorance which has to be removed by your karmas. So it's the karma theory which Jains believe in, and because we don't have much time, another important thing which Jainism says, and which I feel is a great contribution of Jainism to the world culture, is first the ahimsa thing, that you have to be very careful with dealing with the non-human world. You have to have empathy with this non-human world, because humans are not the sole proprietor, have sole proprietor rights on consciousness. Everything, and all these, which we call lower animals, are capable of attaining nirvana by their karmas. Now, we all know karma, theory of karma is one of the founding unifying principle of Indian philosophical tradition, which believes that you have to reap the consequences of your karma. Now, Jainism takes it to the logical conclusion, logical end of. They say that there is no God, there is no hell. All you have to do to attain moksha, nirvana, is purify your soul by your own karma. The concept of creator God is not available in Jainism. So, according to Jainism, you are your own making. What you are today, it's because of your past karmas. What you will be in future, it will be because of your present karmas. And there is nothing in this world, no one, even Tirthankar Mahavir, even if he comes, if he is around, even he cannot make you, he cannot redeem you actually. What he is saying, redeem me of your sufferings. What they are saying, that Mahavir can only tell you, just a minute, Mahavir can only show you the path, but you have to walk on that path yourself. So there is no excuse available in Jainism, and there is no waiting for some divine help coming from anywhere. You have to work hard for your own salvation. So that's why this religion is called religion of brave people. Because it takes away all the other assistance, help from you, the excuses which you have for not doing certain things, because there is no excuse. All you are is what your own making. So you can't blame anybody, you can't seek help from anywhere. It's you have to tread the path yourself. You have to work hard, you have to purify, and unless this knowledge of yours is translated into your conduct, nothing can happen. So this is where I conclude that the first sutra of Tattvad Sutra, which is kind of Bible of Jainism, it says Samyak Darshan Gyan Charitrani Moksha Marga. Samyak is the right, Darshan is the faith or belief or observation or intuition, Gyan is knowledge, and Charitra is conduct. When all these three are together, then only one can become the right candidate for moksha. So moksha is not possible only with knowledge or only with external rituals or works or puja or mala or whatever you do. So all these three have to be joined together. Unless knowledge is translated into action, conduct, nothing will happen. Unless action is supported by or supported by the knowledge, nothing will happen. These three things have to be together, and I think this is very important for at this juncture in our civilization, that we realize that instead of waiting for any avatar, let us start working for our own salvation on individual level, on national level, on global level. We don't need to wait. It's just we have to. It's not, somebody is not coming from up there to help us. We have to rise ourselves to reach there on community and individual level both. And I wish you all good luck in your journey from outward to inward, from a path of salvation, path of redeeming sufferings from this world. And I think the best way for doing this is to go back to the real nature of consciousness, which is all blissful, which is all peaceful, with compassion, it's all that we want in the world. And if we realize that this is what we are, I think most of the problems we are facing in the world today, whether environmental, terrorism, you just name it, and it can be solved on the basis of this identity which we feel for all the other living beings and the concept of non-violence. Thank you so much for your patience.
Thank you, madam. Thanks for your lucid exposition of Jaina concept of consciousness. Now I invite Professor Mohan Kharel ji, Tribhuvan University, Kathmandu. Professor has some slides. I request him to cut short the slides and go straight away to the concepts. You can start, sir.
Okay. Good morning to everybody. And I would like to give my heartily thanks to Nalanda University as well as India Foundation. And at the same time, I would like to extend my heartily thanks to Dr. S.R. Bhatt, who is doing work for not only the national level, but international level. So thank you for everyone to be in this very August seminar, as well as in a very holy place. So I am starting from, since yesterday there has been talks starting from the Satya Chitta Ananda, but I am starting from the ignorance and reach up to the Satya Chitta Ananda. It's not running? So, okay, our past life karma is seated in Chitna, a person with certain sanskara always instigate or always excite ego, mana, and self-action, which Western call it free will, and they make a kind of decision, sometimes positive, sometimes negative, and that goes to the mundane world. But these ego, mana, and self-actions are very, very dynamic. Therefore, it is turbulent, unstable, flickering, cyclic, and conditional. Therefore, this complex is termed as slippery juncture. And but instead of really moved by this kind of ingredients, if we get it, is moksha or nirvana. Now, amidst the slippery zone where we do get fall, there is a fall we get unconsciously. Among many sources, there is a point from where we choose fall in place of rising against the excessive because of the deceptive nature of ignorance. This fall is not by others, but by our own choice, our own ignorance, no, I should say. Now, in order to detect the falling point, let us utilize production function and marginal utility function of economics. This first graph says about the input and output relationship, in which as the input increases, then output will be also increases. In the first phase, there will be increasing rate. In second phase, it is increasing at decreasing rate. In third stage, it is decreasing at the decreasing rate. And with regard to utility, of course, there will be increase in the total utility, but there is continuous diminishing marginal utility, and finally it goes to negative. Now, let me bring you to the how one of the example how excess alcohol or drug use lead the weakness of our nerves and where we fall. Now, regarding this picture, this is the bilipid layer of the cell membrane, in which when it is alcohol, then the receptor will get some kind of stimulation by which there will be intoxication. Similarly, in case of dopamine also, there is intron and axon of nerves, and in which receptor cells are there, and in which the physiologically increased alcohol level affects the inhibitory neurotransmitter GABA aminobutyric acid in the brain, sitting in the GABA receptor site, which I already mentioned in the picture. The causes for the intoxication with sluggish movement and the impaired speech. Stephen Bourne, scientist and author of the book, said, "It is not the time to make the important decisions when there is a intoxication." Similarly, in case of drug addicts, the brain starts to adjust the source of the tranquilizer dopamine. With repeated use of the drug, neurons may begin to reduce the number of dopamine receptors, or simply make the less dopamine. Because of the low level of the dopamine, it encourages the brain to repeat the pleasurable activity of dopamine by taking the drugs again and again. That is why the intoxication goes. Now, the excess utilization of after reaching in the upper third limit of the first zone, consuming tendency appeals to expand the ongoing desires that further gives a feeling that it should not be resisted, but in fact it is offering negative effects. When really it is giving the negative effect, in that very time we start taking the furthermore effects. As the first zone is no clear-cut demarcation which rings the bell of our alarm, hence the entrance is automatic into the second zone despite the decreased result. Therefore, we term is the deceptive zone. The third zone pushes the individual towards the brink to the extent that it finally makes the habit of or vasana. Then it starts to offer the devastating result like fatality. Hence, we term it devastating zone equivalent to the third zone, third stage of the production function theory of economics. Finally, it leads to the fallen state. Okay, now with this phenomena, it can we can go. Okay, now the same model can be correlated to explain the ego about which we are talking. Now I am trying to correlate with the ego. The ego identification trigger, I mean, let's see this picture. This is this pointer is not working, but let me show you. The front point, there is a brain and there is a adrenal gland and there is the nerve system is there. In second picture, there are the brain vibration which goes all around body, and alpha and beta are more stressful, whereas alpha, theta, and gamma are all very, very smooth and they are very tranquil. The ego identification trigger a kind of alertness to the body system. The hypothalamus releases adrenocortical hormone into the bloodstream and stimulates adrenaline production. The adrenaline or epinephrine is a crucial part of the body for fight and flight response. It affects both the sympathetic nerves and adrenal gland, and consequently electrical impulses are carried throughout the body. Penny Pierce, the authors of The Frequency of Power of Personal Vibration, describes if we let our ego with the adrenaline rush, then we become not only our true self. With more adrenaline in the blood, the brain rush wave move towards the stressful frequency in the body, beta to gamma side, and away from the amplitude of alpha, theta. Pierce describes the characteristics of lower amplitude as your brain moves slow further from the alpha to theta, you find your understanding about the nature of your inner self. The ego begins to die and replaced by the oneness, whereas reverse is the scenario when there is excessive ego. The excessive utilization of So, at least now, if we see the ego or anything, any other kind of things, the application of above model in other cases of challenge, the above model can be applied to vast cases of negative emotions like jealousy, hatred, anger, dominance, greediness, as well as mundane positive emotions like love, sympathy in our day-to-day life. Also, this model can be applied in the cases of excessive sentiment, desire, and most of the day-to-day life. As those properties are attached in every section of life, it is therefore greatest challenge to the spirituality to be out of them, because we have been dipped into the ocean of the rules, laws, materialistic education, materialistic science, materialistic politics, tradition, values, family, society, culture, history, nation, mind, whatsoever of that exists in the samsara. Now, in order to become free from all the contaminations, we can have the two strategy for the general purpose and for the moksha purpose. For the general purpose, we may like to keep a certain upper mark of our activities or objectives, beyond which we may like to forbid to go ahead. Because reaching the mark, if we can be aware of that, we should not proceed ahead then. That is our alertness. How can we have the alertness? That is a question. Before our excessiveness in any kind of those behavioral activities in our thinking, our egos, mana, buddhi, chitta, all. So this we need to elevate our willpower to the extent that we do not stagger from the slippery position. Slippery position is right within us. It is not the different religions and other one person to another one. It is deceived by within us, because the more this is the point where we need to be alert. It is the point there used to be intoxication. So, but moksha purpose, the chitta, the ego, mana, and self actions or free will should be erased or removed, so that our chitta now becomes chit, and now we may have the experience of the Satchitananda in that case. So this kind of package, but minimum at least we can afford this first package in which at least we will be restricted from our excessiveness of any our behavioral attitude. It is therefore the sensibility of the combined effort of the Dharma and Dhamma is needed. Since I am not my background is not the philosophy, but nevertheless I am touching a little bit part of the spirituality. General principle of Sanatana Hindu Dharma and Buddha Dharma are the same. Let us compare. Maybe I am touching here by the Sanatan Hindu and Buddhism, but maybe also Jainism and other religion also. In case of Sanatana-Dharma, these are some fundamental parts which are very strongly existed, like monoism, monotheism, polytheism exist within the assembly of single source of consciousness, Chaitanya or Parabrahma. They advocate strongly about the non-duality. The path, Dhyan Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Karma Yoga, along with the Tantra, may be different, but the destination is the same. Sansara, sensory organ, Mana, Buddhi, Chitta, Ahankara, all are illusionary as well as temporary. Divine powers hidden within each human being as well as in all creatures, all of them can merge into one Parabrahma. Hence, they used to call it Ekoham Ditya Nasti. To escape from the birth and death cycle, one has to go moksha, reducing burden of the karma at the zero level. Now, in case of Buddhism, Heart Sutra speaks about the going to emptiness, sunyata, while the Sound Sutra tells about the returning from the emptiness. So, while returning, there is some kind of asset that has been collected. That means that is not zero. Lotus Sutra tells us the first vehicle is the listening to the sermon. Second is, so there are different parts, but they also say that all can be merged into one. Buddhism also says that the sansaric satya is temporary and illusionary. Buddha was sure about the hidden divine power within the each being, hence he taught to become apodipo bhava. All sutra says that the birth and death cycle can be broken if a flame of the desire or karmic burden is reduced to zero. Now I am almost nearing to the end of my presentation. Now, theory and practice of dilemma of Sanatana-Dharma. Well, while Sanatana-Dharma being a very distinguished and a foundation for all religions, but there are, unfortunately with time, some. I don't want to offend the people, but therefore I am specifically marking the some priests and pandit later started to lay poor attention on the deep sadhana, mainly dhyan practice, the practice which Lord Shiva always adopted. Rather, lone epistemological argument with eloquence led to have the more attraction to the mundane world with a higher level of ego, preventing from the self or inner realization. Besides, the Tamasic Tantra, which offer blood to deities and eat meat in the name of prasada, ruined real image of the Sanatana Hindu Dharma. Seeing declining trend, maybe I am trying to converse these two stream of the wisdom. Seeing the declining trend of the Lord Buddha revealed path of the Satchitananda or Nirvana, enforcing the Dhyan Yoga, mainly Dhyan Yoga, by reaching to the Samadhi. While the other hand, only adopting Dhyan, Karma Kanda, Dhyan or Karma Kanda by the followers without application of Gyan or Bhakti or Karma Yoga would stagger at any time. This can be seen when we take the example of the defeat of the monk guru Dharmakirti by Kumaril Bhatta and defeat of Mandan Mishra by Adi Shankaracharya. So we have to have the all kind of understanding, but one may have the one single path, but our respect cannot go to the others. So it is at the end, in the epistemological and practical application of Dharma and Dham will protect from being staggered in the slippery juncture that I initially mentioned. It is really deceptive. It is very, we try to maintain it, but we ourselves fall at any time. So how we can apply it ourselves, that's the important thing. Slippery junction or spirituality, so that one can stand strong and change. Chances of slippage are minimized or reduced to zero. The sincere and definite door for enlightenment, moksha, is open because of their combined effort. There and all the paths of the Sanatana Dharma, Dhyan, Bhakti, Gyan, and Karma Yoga. And even other religions also get inspiration and confidence to realize that all are finally wing of the same Dharma. Even other Dharma, I am trying to mention to Christianity, Muslims and Jews, they also appreciate finally Sanatana-Dharma, because they are not different part other than the Sanatana-Dharma also, and there can be possibility of unity of all Dharma also. Thank you.
Honorable Vice-Chancellor, respected dais, venerables, dharmacharyas, and distinguished scholars. I am a student of Buddhism, so definitely I speak on Buddhism, and on one point, that is Chitto Anupassana, introspection on consciousness. That is widely debated topic and widely explored topic in the recent researches in all sense, that is historically, philosophically, archaeologically, and empirically. So I will just deal the idea that how that debate is going to historically connected. Was the idea of consciousness that you can say developed through Buddha's idea of vipassana and samatha was a invention of Buddha, or was a rediscovery, and that was an evolved process. That was not simply a matured process that was accepted by some of the scholars, that when he just attained the Nibbana, he got everything. So that process, I'm just discovering, because that Honorable Chair has given only me 10 minutes time. So I will discuss the important hypothesis that is going on all over the world, and what I am contributing in that hypothesis that I'm just going to discuss. When you talk about the Siddhartha, not Buddha, and we find that his biography says that he well versed in the all kind of education that time was given, including Vedic, Brahmanical, and ritualistic kind of literature that when he just learned all these, his introspective mind was not satisfied with that, and so he started taking the other route to explore. So what is it? What it can be? How we can evolve ourselves, and this type of idea, this type of the mystical thinking gives the idea of Siddhartha to be a Buddha. And so he started his journey from Buddhism, and so Buddhahood, and you just analyze this historical process, you find that it takes almost 6 years of exploration when you talk about the idea of consciousness, how he started developing, and finally just he got some of what is my personal view, some of his idea when he attained Nibbana and became the Buddha. So his idea of Bodhi is simply is evolutionary. And for it, just I quote one of the earliest Pali Sutta, when the Nagar Sutta of Samyutta Nikaya just mentions that I am a rediscoverer. I am like a person who is just traveling in the forest and suddenly discovered an ancient city, and then found that all civilizational instinct was earlier existing. So I am like that who just got the idea that I am just simply a rediscoverer. And that point of things just started debate, that how he just rediscovered the idea, how he just matured the idea, and so there is some contradictions too among the scholars. No, he has some inventions. It was a sudden invention, and there's 2 groups. And the first, the idea that he has the sudden inventions was a very later addition that was first found in Mahishashaka Vinaya. And it was said that Buddha discovered suddenly all, and then final deliberations, finally system started. And one of the earlier thinkers who started just the great colonial thinker, but the great Buddhologist, the Poshin, has given the idea, no, it is a process thing. he evolved it slowly, and the first such great instinct, first such great maturity that he started seeking was definitely one of the first thinker that he met, that was the Alar Kalama. From here, he just started the taking of idea of nothingness of the consciousness, and from there, maybe it's a wider debated topic, he matured his idea of anatta and other things. And then again, that he started taking his second, what you can say, there's a wider debate to see it. There's a teacher that is Ramputta, and said it is neither consciousness nor unconsciousness. He learned the idea, and it is deliberated by some very prominent scholars like Bhikshu Analayo, that it became the fourth part of his jhana, that was final evolution of, that was finally discussed in the Mahasatipatthana Sutra. Another important thing is that when recent analysis done by like Analayo, and very recent by the Bronkhorst, they have just found that it's a high level of evolution. It was not simply a maturity, and they have discussed some that at least more than 50 times such kind of things that discuss, that Buddha repeatedly just discussing about idea of Satipatthana, then Anapanasati Sutta, and then finally he evolved the Mahasatipatthana Sutta. And some of the reference that I want to just quote is that how this discovery started, how it was mentioned in the Buddhist literature, like Sutta Vibhanga of the Samyutta Nikaya, like some of the idea was given that Satipatthana Vagga of Anguttara Nikaya, then Sati Vagga of the Anguttara Nikaya, then Satipatthana of the Vibhanga, then Satipatthana Katha, and some of the minor variations that was found in the different Vinaya, in the Sutta literature. So this was the clear visibility that gives the idea that it was finally evolved. And what we find that it's a final evolution that Buddha says, that his intention was that he will finally evolve in the area that can be considered to be the most learned area. And so that Kamas Dhamma, where he just developed the idea of Mahasatipatthana Sutta, he personally visited the Kurukshetra and just mentioned it, that why I'm coming for my final deliberation on the Satipatthana Sutra, because this area is considered to be most learned at that time in the whole Indian subcontinent. So people here are more accessible and more, you can say, be good enough to learn what I'm finally discussing in the Mahasatipatthana Sutta. For just a minute, just taking 2 minutes. And for it, just very important, just quote, I want to just mention that because time is less. It was by L.M. Joshi that very important. He was a very young scholar but died untimely. So his contribution that he does is very good. So I quote, what was the original source of thought of the historic munis, yatis, shamanas? It would be absurd to think that Buddhism, Jainism, or Sankhya, or yoga, or anti-Vedic spiritual thoughts, or older Upanishads appear suddenly in the 6th or 5th century BCE. The fashionable theory of revolt, reaction, and reform within Vedic Brahmanism are gratuitous and absurd, wholly conjectural, without any evidence. The Upanishads themselves prove that non-Vedic, non-Brahmanical, non-Aryan influences were at work. The pre-Upanishads Vedic texts prove that there were prehistoric India were at work, and pre-Upanishadic Vedic texts prove that there were that non-Vedic Aryans and Vedic Aryans collaborated. And finally, you find in the archaeological remains of Mohenjo-daro and Harappa prove that there were ascetics and yatis and yogins in India, which their contribution may be added later, unquote. And finally, that is my final evolution is to come, that what I thought, that's how you think such deliberations, when you point that Buddha initiated his idea of his idea of, you can say, tradition, vipassana and samatha, in the land where there was a Janaka tradition, in the land of Magadh. He deliberated first time in the idea in the Sarnath, where there is a pre-existing tradition of Ajatashatru. He matured his idea of Mahasatipatthana Sutta in the land of Prabhahan Jabali. And his determination was finally, after his death, and finally culminated to global world from the point which was the land of Kaikya, the great philosophers of later Vedic age. So you have to think how the idea of sacred develops, how collaborative minds starts. It is not simply you can bifurcate or separate the identity that it is Vedantic, it is Sankhya, that is started, but it is the Buddhist and Jain. All collaborations go together, but with distinctive ideas. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, I invite one or two questions from the audience. No comments, no detailed discussions. Just one or two questions if you have any. Yes. Therefore, I take. Yeah. I did, but yeah.
My question is to Dr. Singh. In this Tat Tvam Asi, that thou art, why do we use that and not this? Because Brahma is everywhere, in everybody. Then why do we say that? And another question to the next speaker. What is the role of gunas in Jainism? Thank you.
This is the most fundamental question that you have raised, Tattvamasi. And yesterday, Madam Vice-Chancellor has also referred and explained it. This Tattvamasi is the quintessential teachings of the Upanishad, that thou art that. Means, I have already explained that in the state of spiritual sublimity, the saints and seers and yogis, they experienced the transcendental nature of the being and existence in form of Sat, Chit and Anand. But we have erroneously identified ourselves as what we are not. We are the cosmic consciousness, we are the Brahman, Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma Tajjalan. So this is the teachings of the Upanishad. And even if you take the Buddha before sitting under the Bodhi tree, he had taken this vow, Ihasane susatume sariram twagasti mansang pralayam jayato aprapya bodhi bahukalpa durlabam naiva sanat matas chalisate. When in this very posture, I would realize, I will experience what is unrealizable, aprapya bodhi. And what you realize? The nirvana. Nirvana is what? Nirvana is nothing but your own transcendental, what your own true being. You have to realize your true being, Tattvamasi. That is a Tattvamasi. And by, say there are two, Abhidha and Lakshana. So in Lakshana there are Jahad, Ajahad, Jajjahad. So through Jajjahad, I am not explaining detail, through Jajjahad we explain the identity between the self and the Brahma. So this is the basic that she has already explained it, and thank you very much for asking. They're very, very important, and quantum question. This is called quantum question. Thank you.
Hello. Yeah, the role of Gunas in Jainism, actually Gunas are the essential characteristics of substances, like those which define its nature, which never change. But it is contrasted with paryayas, the modes, which keep on coming and going. So there is constant flux as well as there is a stability which defines the whole substance. Does it?
The question raised by him is that why Tattvam Asi, where that is used. The basic question which an inquisitive mind experiences is what is the ultimate reality out of which this entire manifold world comes into existence, the ultimate reality. So what is that? And the Rishi points out that that is the same as you. Not this. You stands for this, in fact. So that question, the answer to what is that? And what is that? That from which everything comes out, that by which everything is sustained, that in which everything gets reabsorbed. Well, that is the ultimate reality. And that ultimate reality is the fundamental source of all manifestations. That is the ultimate non-dual substance. So, therefore, the word that is used and it's very much meaningful there. Thank you.
So there is another response. So Atma Tattvamasi, here it is not Tat, it is Atat. So Atma Atat Tattvamasi. Therefore, there is no question whether it is Etat. Yes. Therefore, always Upanishad gives scope for some interpretation. So this is Atat.
Actually, Professor Bhatt has explained it very scholarly, but I would just like to add a footnote to what he has stated. Actually, even the science, I have already explained, particularly the quantum mechanics, is coming closer to the Vedantic truth. Why? Because science doesn't know the whole energy. Science is know of only the 27% of the total energy, and 73% is unknown to the science, particularly the dark matter, dark energy, and dark truth. And also this is 73% are unknown. So this, what he has explained, this is consciousness, the cosmic consciousness, the Brahman is what? Brahman is the substance and the substratum of the whole cosmos. This is the substance and substratum of the whole. Everything is the cosmic consciousness, everything is Brahman. Sarvam khalvidam brahma tajjala. Everything is Brahman, there is nothing. Of course, we have Pratibhasik Satta and Vyavaharik Satta. That's a different to explain it. But that the transcendental nature of the being, the transcendental nature of the reality, that has been, it's a baffling that science doesn't deal with the Satta, doesn't deal what is truth. The science only deals with the shadow of the mind, shadow of the sound, and shadow of the color. Even Schrödinger has written that we do not know what is real color, what is green and what is red and what is blue. So these are some epistemological problems, and that has been raised by the greatest scientists of the modern age. And we find answer in the Vedanta, Paragyan and Aparagyan. Even the Shiva Sutra says, the Jnanam Bandha, second Jnanam Bandha. So the knowledge is a bondage if it doesn't reveal the real self. Thank you very much, sir.
if you hate someone, you should make him Sabhadhyaksha. So, you are all listening to them. I was watching the time. This is my fate. Of course, chair is the Kala. So, Kala binds me too. Time binds me too. So, therefore, I don't really add anything and don't comment. I don't even repeat. Instead, I would just apologize for stopping them. And that's at the, as a chair, I should also have some opportunity to speak, because the organizers did not give any other opportunity for me. I'm from Sanskrit Nyaya tradition. Therefore, there should be some scope for giving the explanation on the same topic from the Nyaya point of view. Just I will take 1 minute. Jnana is momentary. It's a property, momentary property of the self. It takes place in the self for a moment. Therefore, there is no concept of eternal jnana, nothing. See, as Professor explained, knowledge is also a bondage. It is bandha. Therefore, you should get out of it. So, in the moksha, according to Nyayikas, no knowledge also. Because knowledge is product of the function of our own manas and other indriyas. Once you get rid of this body, get out of this body, no bondage, no knowledge too. Even no sukha too. So you should aspire for such a state where no knowledge, no sukha, and just be yourself. I think this is very fantastic, in this level, consciousness is just being abode of knowledge. It is not the knowledge itself. So just coming out of this, because this sort of position is not acceptable to many, because one reason, varam vrindavane ramme shigala shigalatvam runomyaham. Natu vaisheshikim muktim. This vaisheshika mukti is very horrible. No one would aspire for it. Because no knowledge, no bliss, nothing, just be yourself. What is this? Therefore, I take some other job. I really acknowledge the invitation of India Foundation and the Nalanda University. Today, the world is passing through really tough time. Nature is disturbed, and there is global temperature is increased, and floods, and no water on the other side. Actually, we should look at it, and the whole universe, I think it is soon going to be very unfit for any life. So in this context, we should bring these new categories into our deliberations. So India, for several yugas, I deliberately use word yuga, not years. We are not, because concept of time in India is not line, it is chakra. We are in this chakra. Therefore, due to certain terms pervading in the language, now these terms are disappearing and that category is also disappearing. Once these categories disappear, the whole conversation becomes very empty for us. And we are discussing using the terms like truth, consciousness. I don't know what is consciousness. I don't know what is truth. No, I'm not hating English, but I am finding problem with the translation. So because my terms are Sat, or Satya, Jnana and Ananta. These terms, we are comfortable with it. So therefore, we are all Indians or non-Indians too, will be very comfortable with these terms because these terms are to be understood by definition, not by translation. So with this background, today through this Dhamma conference, we should really try to revive these categories into Indian conversation. So these categories, we normally in our general conversation, we have karma, we have punarjanma, we have jiva, to some extent Brahma. But we don't know this. Satya is used in very general context. But what is Satya in the context of Dharma, Jnana and Nirvana? These are the terms, these are the categories which make huge difference in our worldview. I'm using worldview. The problem is not due to the problem in the nature. Problem is due to the change in our worldview. If we change our worldview, then nature behaves differently. So therefore, this is called Drishti Srishtivada. If I change my Drishti, Srishti changes. So if at all I want to change to happen in the nature, I should change my Drishti. So if I change my Drishti, naturally Srishti will change. So with this background, so we have only one excess. Excess is Vak. So my request to all philosophers assembled here, let us start using our own terms, our own categories. Those categories will definitely make huge changes in our drishti, in our conversation. So I just take 4 dimensions that are, this is not the time for elaborate the things, but I want to get your attention to these 4 terms, dimensions that are mentioned in Aitareya Upanishad. Sanjnana, 4 terms he uses: Sanjnana, Ajnana, Vijnana and Prajnana. Shankara says there are many other terms which belong to the psychology, but these 4 terms are very important terms which we are missing in our conversation. Sanjnana is awareness, self-awareness. Sanya, na pretya sanjnasti. If we die, we don't have sanya. Sanya means awareness, chetana, what we call. And ajnana. Ajnana is, term ajna. Ajna is give instructions, control, authority. There is something which is ajna in our mind. This is called ajna, through which we govern our entire kosha, annamaya kosha, pranamaya kosha, manomaya kosha, vijnana kosha, are governed by this ajnana. So therefore, it is the ajnana, it is ajnana. A is samantat jnanam, so ajnanam. So this gives us, it is me and it is mine, and I have ownership, I can control this. This sort of jnana is ajnana. This is next level. The third level is vijnana. Vijnana is, Vijnana deals with the bhuta vastu, surroundings. Entire nature is the subject matter of Vijnana. And the Prajnana. Of course, Prajnana has all these manifestation in the form of Sanjnana, Ajnana, Vijnana, but Prajnana is supreme knowledge which is about everything. It is Sarvajnatva. So just I am bringing these concepts. Today, world is becoming Sanjnana Kendrita. I mean, my worldview has become Sanjnana Kendrita because it is only me, and rest of the whole world is for me. See, now conflict arises. If I exist and the entire world exists for me, that means I can enjoy this. So when I want to enjoy this, obstacles come, and there is a fight, there is a conflict, because each human being or each individual, even the nature, wants its own existence. Then when I'm questioning, it's crossing my own limits and entering entire system. So therefore, without elaborating much. So, Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. So, actually today morning I was discussing with Professor Mishra. I did not find this anywhere, nowhere in the Upanishad. This, but I'm glad he has found it. Let him explain later. That's that secret, that secrecy is required. And now I conclude with this, that yo vai bhuma tat sukham nalpe sukhamasti. The term jnana is placed between Satya and Ananta. Satya is the base, jnana towards Anantatva. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Varakhedi, for the wonderful conduct of the session. Now it's time to honor our speakers. May I request the chair, Professor Varakhedi, to honor Professor LPC. Professor Kusum Jain. Professor Mohan Kharel. And Professor Anand Singh. May I now invite Professor Sri Prakash Singh to felicitate Professor Varakhedi. Thank you all. By this, we end the first plenary session. But before we disperse, there are two announcements to be made. The following professors would be chairing the parallel sessions this afternoon: Professor R.C. Sinha, Professor Sri Prakash Singh, Professor Ranjana Mishra, Sri Vittal Nadkarni, Professor Virendra Kumar Malhotra, Venerable Thero, Professor Kusum Jain, and Professor Gautam Patel. All of you are requested to stay back soon after this session at this hall itself. Professor Sri Prakash Singh would like to share some views of hers, to share some thoughts of him regarding the conduct of the parallel sessions. Now, the second announcement is for the speakers in the parallel session. All those who are making their presentations in the parallel sessions are requested to upload their PPTs in the concerned rooms. You will get assistance for that. Thank you all.